If we're passive men, then we are limp men. So we are going to take the Viagra today, the Cialis. Welcome to the Family Captain Podcast. I'm your host, I'm your coach, John Michael Clark. On this show, we help Christian husbands grow in family leadership and sex and marriage. So if you believe that Jesus is king, and you want to lead your family with strength and love, and you want frequency and freedom in your sex life, then you're in the right place. We're going to help you build an incredible family culture where God is glorified and your family is blessed by your strong, loving leadership.
Gentlemen, welcome to the Family Captain Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Farrell. This show is designed to help you become the greatest man your wife and your kids have ever known. Mr. John Michael Clark, the leader, the builder of the Family Captain. My dude, we're talking about limp men today. Are you ready?
Bro, you that was a high calling you hit us with. Be the
like
greatest man our wife and kids have ever known. Like, it's our tagline. We talk about leading with strength and love. That's big stuff. And then you talk about limp men.
And then just straight to limp men. Just
ouch. Yeah, we don't want to be that. So what do you guys mean by that? Well, bro, what do you think we mean? Like, if in every way that would apply, no man wants to be a limp man. So in the most obvious har snicker har way, yeah, we don't want to be that. And in all the other metaphorical ways, we don't want to be those either. So we want to be strong, erect men. And so I'm not trying to take the sexual reference too far. I really just think it's actually a great application. Men should insert themselves, Chris. We're supposed to insert ourselves into life. We're supposed to insert ourselves into danger. We're supposed to insert ourselves into mission, insert ourselves into purpose. And we can't do that if we're not active men. If we're passive men, then we are limp men. So we are going to take the Viagra today, the Cialis.
What are the other ones?
I don't know. Those are the only two I know of.
I don't know.
I think there's a bunch of off-brand ones.
We actually may rank much higher on YouTube now as a result of you saying that.
This episode is brought to you by Action. That's the actual Viagra. That's the actual Cialis that makes a man strong, that makes a man bold, that makes a man firm, able to actually go and conquer and do awesome things to glorify God and bless people.
Amen. Amen, bro. All right.
You don't need another podcast. You don't need another podcast. That's the point of this episode. So you can skip this episode because you don't need another podcast. You just need action.
Now you just killed algorithms. We were doing well, and now everyone turned it off.
They're like, let me just shut it down. Like, brother, go take action. If you turn it off to go take action, then mission accomplished on this episode.
There it is. Well, let's start there, actually. You're right. Another podcast, it's not going to help if we don't take action. So when a dude fills up on knowledge, my man, podcasts, sermons, books, all the things, but he does not act on it, what's really going on beneath the surface for this guy? Like, is it fear? Is it comfort? Is it a false sense of progress? What do you think?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's a false sense of progress because knowledge ain't nothing. It doesn't count for zero, but it does count for zero if it's no action to put along with it. So the fact that I know more, the fact that I have wisdom and expertise, the fact that I think I know how to apply things doesn't mean I'm applying them, of course. And that's the trap that guys fall into. And that's what we're calling limp. And we want that to grab guys' attention because men, our mind goes to a particular place. And I don't intend to be crass, but bro, this podcast is not for your grandma. This is not your grandma's men's ministry. So we do want to grab guys' attention, and we do want you to realize, like, if the shoe fits, wear it. If you're a limp man, if you're not actively making progress, that's the standard. That's the measurement. Is there progress? And you cannot just call progress knowledge and learning, because knowledge by itself is not progress. Reading books in the library all day, every day is not progress. Reading about, how to level up, listen to podcasts about how to grow, you're still just a limp man. You might just be a keyboard warrior. You might just be an intellectual warrior. You might be a legend in your own mind. But if you're not a legend in real life, you're still not the active man that the world needs, that God has built you for. God has built you to be a man alive. And that is where you're actually going to experience more of the glory of God. That's where your people are going to experience more of the goodness that comes from your leadership. So knowing stuff ain't enough. Action, action, action is what counts.
Yeah, true. You said something interesting there. You alluded to time, and it actually made me think of like this. There's a serious distinction between somebody when you're like, oh, well, I've spent 30 hours doing that thing, or the person who's like, yeah, I accomplished this. Like, who cares how long it took me? But I actually accomplished the thing, right? In most cases, entrepreneurs look at employees and they're like, well, I don't care how much time you spent. Did you get the job done? Did you produce or did you not? And so, yeah, unpack time a little bit more on this because I think you're hitting on something.
You probably said something that helps a ton of guys going from that employee to owner perspective, even when we're employees, to realize that outcomes are all that matters. Instead of,
That's
hey,
all that matters.
boss, I spent
Yes.
so much time on this. Like, hey, you meant that to be a flex. Boss did not hear that as a flex. And
Exactly.
because you're thinking in terms of, because you're paid by the hour, you think that that's valuable. And all they heard was expense and time wasted. And they heard a person who's not efficient with their work and who is probably not the right fit for the role. So you're smoke in their eyes when you bring that message instead of being able to come and say, hey, this thing got crushed, this thing got accomplished. That's what we need to be pointing to as men. That's what we need to be celebrating as honoring and honoring. And that's what we're trying to do. Guys, not just another episode. So, yes, I said that tongue in cheek. You don't need another podcast episode unless it's the one that finally compels you to take action. And we've seen plenty of guys do that. I mean, we know there are
Yeah.
guys who have completely changed their lives because of the podcast alone.
Yeah.
And they're like,
Yes.
I'm taking action from this thing. Bro, they're treating this like it's not free. You know, that's the problem with free stuff is we treat it like it's free stuff. And we're like,
Oh,
oh yeah, podcasts are a dime a dozen, and they are. Well, actually, you can get more than a dozen for a dime. So there's lots of podcasts, and there's lots of Christian men's podcasts. So you can keep consuming and you can know all the stuff and you can have good theology and you can have good understanding of nature and masculine and
hmm
feminine and sexual dynamics and all the things. But
yeah.
if it ain't showing up in the marriage bed and if your wife isn't thriving and if your kids aren't awesome and respectful and your family culture isn't freaking dope and you don't have a mission that you're excited about,
Yes.
then that's the point we're making, man. There is there's too much emphasis put on time. I'm spending all this time learning. Bro, spend time doing. That is going to give you so much more juice for the squeeze.
100%, man. 100%. And really what we're talking about here is like being stagnant. It's like, how does this stagnation of me spending time listening to podcasts and me spending time reading books, but not applying this knowledge, how does this stagnant affect how a wife sees a man?
He actually loses capital. He's trying to gain capital and he thinks his knowledge will count for her and it doesn't.
Ooh. Yeah.
So he might want to share big brain, but she doesn't care about big brain. She cares about big action. She cares about big fruit. So I can tell you all about a garden and the right way to plant it and the seasons and the fertilizer and all the stuff and what it's going to yield and all the contents of what you could expect from the fruit, but you still aren't impressed because you still don't have fruit to eat. And this becomes like just this self-inflicted wound where guys are like, I'm the tortured genius. It's like, man, she just won't listen to me. It oftentimes leads to the hey babe, let's approach because I've got knowledge and I need her to have the same knowledge base that I have so we can work forward together.
Yes.
We do that whenever we don't want as heavy of a lift in our leadership because it is a heavier lift when you're doing stuff and other people
Sure.
aren't on board with it. There's no doubt about it. And still, for in most cases, it is best to go first. Would it be better though if a husband went to a wife like, let's start going to the gym together, and she's like, great idea, and let's clean out the pantry and get rid of all the processed foods. Great idea. Is that better? Yeah, two
hmm
are better than one. So when I'm weak, somebody else is strong. That's great. But what if they don't have my conviction? What if they don't have the will for it? And beyond that, they don't have the ultimate responsibility like I do.
hmm
So as long as bro's treating his wife like gender neutral life partner who he's got to persuade to 50-50 go along with stuff, he's keeping himself stuck. So it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
He knows stuff, but he's just the guy who could never get his wife to see the light instead of being the guy who's going, I'm going to obey the Lord. And that looks like something. It looks like action. It looks like progress. It
Yeah.
looks like faithfulness. It looks like conviction that doesn't fall to pieces the moment it experiences some resistance.
Yeah. I was on LinkedIn the other day and I saw a post and it was just such an interesting perspective. He said, if you're the obese guy in the stands yelling at your son on a football field, like, run harder, try harder, do this, do that, like, you have to realize that whatever you're expecting of somebody else, Like you have to at least start at that baseline to show. For me, I can't be like, kids, clean your room, and my room be a complete shipwreck. I can't tell my kids to not cuss and then I have a potty mouth and I'm continually cussing all the time, right? And so there's something here as well when it comes to like I know the thing to do, but I'm gonna tell you to do it instead of just take responsibility myself. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the leg of authority. You have the authority to say it. You're not
Right.
incorrect for giving that counsel. It is the correct counsel to give.
Yes.
And still, nobody gives a crap because you're not the guy who's got all three legs of leadership. So I've got the power to do what's best for my family. What's best for my family is that they would
Mm.
clean their room. What's best for my son is that he would do this in this sport. What's best for my wife, you are correct. Congratulations on your correctness. And nobody likes you. Nobody enjoys you. Nobody says, praise God that he's my husband. Praise God that he's our daddy. Praise God that he's the man who is on our team at work or whatever. Like because
Yeah.
we're not doing all three legs. Or we jump between legs and we isolate compassion and then we isolate responsibility and then we isolate authority instead of what does this look like all at the same time so that people can be elevated, the mission can be elevated, God can be elevated. It's not as simple as we would want it to be. The
Mm.
do it because I told you to. You're right, but you're also wrong because they need an example to follow, not just instructions.
Yeah. Okay. So what has to shift in a guy though, right? It's like there's a man who he's like, yeah, like I have the knowledge, I know all the things, but I just can't seem to consistently apply it. What, as a coach, what has to shift in this dude for him to begin to actually make progress and look back and be like, whoa, farther than I thought?
I think for a lot of guys, what we've seen is it's the fear of the Lord.
Mm.
Something shifts in them, whereas they didn't know. Plenty of guys that were ignorant to their mission and their responsibility, and then they heard us teach that when God comes walking into the garden, He asks for Adam. He comes in and He says, "Where are you?" And He doesn't come in and say, "Who ate it first?" And He says, "Ah, both of you ate it, huh? Everybody's in trouble." It's Adam's headship and it's a husband's headship. So when a man actually believes in his heart that he is ultimately responsible, it shifts something in him, and he goes, "Ooh." And he stands at attention and realizes the Lord's calling on him to say, "Where are you?" "Well, but this woman you gave me." "I've heard that before, son. I'm asking, where are you?" "Well, she ate the fruit." "I know that she did." And also, uh, back to Adam and Eve for a second, we were not plunged into darkness and sin when Eve sinned. Humanity was not lost. Eve was lost, but all of humanity was not lost. Why? Because Eve is
True.
not the head.
True.
Eve ate first. We weren't doomed when Eve ate. We were doomed when Adam ate. Adam failed in the garden. Thank God. The second Adam, the greater Adam, comes and he succeeds at the tree where Adam had failed. And where Adam blames his bride, Jesus comes and rescues his bride. He cleans up the mess that his bride made. So, of course, that's what we have to do. We have to be more like Jesus. So that's the shift that guys have to make. It's for me, that was the shift I had to make. It was the leg of responsibility. Realize I've got to take ownership for all the outcomes. And then emphasizing the leg of compassion. You love your family a lot and they know it. And then you focus on the outcomes. Bro, I'm like the only person who I know who teaches a husband's authority, especially the way that I teach it. And still, most guys still want to jump to it exclusively at the cost of ownership and at the cost of true compassion and true love. And like, finally, somebody talk about authority. I'm like, yep, 100%. I can do it all day. But you're freaking me out a little bit. You seem a little too excited.
Right.
No, no, no. It's just refreshing. Okay, fair enough. Like, I understand that completely. I felt the same way when I came across God's good truths. Authority is not a bad thing, and it's not a scary thing as long as we've defined it properly. We said authority is the power to do its best. But by itself, it can become too intense. And people, like you said, they just see us as hypocrites. Our counsel might be correct, but it's still that we're still not the greatest man that they've ever known, that they look up to
Yes.
and go, of course, this guy has billions of dollars of leadership capital with me. I love him. I trust him because I know how much he loves me and cares for me. I can trust that his motives are what's best for me first and him second.
Hmm.
And we've underestimated that. But when guys start to make that switch, man, you start just showing up with good fruit. You start taking action instead of reading books on gardening, and you just start bringing fruit into the house. It's hard to argue against sweet and delicious fruit.
Become the greatest man your wife and kids have ever known. We say it at the beginning of every episode, right? but it's like it means something different for each dude. You know what I mean? It's like I remember when I joined the family captain in 2021, like that line hit me. And I was like, huh. Like I probably already am in a way. I would, tell myself, but then at the same time I'm like, but what if my kids actually verbalized it? And I think for me when it comes to this particular topic, there were areas where it's like, yeah, I know the thing to do, but I don't know, I'm just not applying myself. So talk about brotherhood here, because I think there's a really powerful piece of taking a guy who's like, yeah, I'm gonna read the thing and I think I'll do the thing, but then I'll move on to the next book and the next book and just continue to pull in that dopamine of information. But how important is brotherhood when it comes to actually applying this?
It's the key to making it impossible to fail. That's what I want to do whenever I'm doing something. I want to make my failure impossible, and as much as possible, I want to make sure that I have friends or butt kickers or whatever you want to call it, but somebody who's actually invested in my victory and my success. Other brothers, other peers, other heads,
Yeah.
other men who are looking out for me and who are celebrating my victories and who actually they're not we're in healthy competition in appropriate ways, but not genuinely. We're not actually like they don't want me to lose. They know that their victory doesn't mean my loss.
Sure.
So in some ways we can compare in healthy challenges to one another, but in general like there's no way I can lose cuz they want me to win. And there's no way they can lose cuz I want them to win. I mean, this is what we do with guys, of course when they come in once they've gone into their first 12 weeks, after that, they go into what we call the voyage. And that's where they have, that's where they get their battle brother. That's where they go into their armada, their particular fleet. And that's what we tell them about in the voyage. Like, it's impossible to fail because you have your battle brother. And I told the guys the other day, I was like, hey, if your battle brother is suffering or if he's missing out on something or whatever, and, if he doesn't show up on a call,
Hmm.
you know, your your team's going to go, where's your battle brother? It's like, well, he better be like something real bad must be going on. And
Right.
even then, if you're like, well, he's dead. Like, okay, well, did you resurrect him? Like, his failure is your failure, and we have that kind of accountability and expectation where it's like, I got this guy in my corner for real,
Hmm.
because I don't want to be alone. I don't want to trust myself, and I know that I'm capable of any sin that any other man is capable of. I know I'm capable of the same sin that David sinned with. I know I'm capable of the same sins that Moses sinned with. I don't think I'm greater than any of the patriarchs. I don't think I'm greater than Peter. And knowing that and knowing my flesh, that drives me to humility, but no longer to run to my wife and go, hey, Natalie, can you be my covering? Can you be
Right.
my brother in arms? Like, well, your wife is your partner. Yeah, and she's a wife. So there's something real, there's something profound, there's something deep, but it's not brotherhood. And it's not the man who has my six. So it's a different kind of support, it's a different kind of help, but I need men who can actually bear the weight that I can put on them at all times. And that's not Natalie's responsibility. Well, she's willing to help you, brother. Well, that's nice. My children would also be willing to help me. My employees would be willing to help me. My church would be willing to help me. All of those relationships have appropriate degrees of weight that I should put on those people. Should, genuinely. But in all of those relationships, I'm still responsible to lead each of these people. And I have to make sure I always do what's best for them and not what's best and preferable for me.
Yeah.
That's what love really does. So in my case, that means I'm going to have brotherhood with Chris. I'm going to have brotherhood with Steven. I'm going to have brotherhood with whoever so that I actually have bros who are looking out for me. But that requires something else from me we've talked about recently,
Yeah.
vulnerability.
Yes.
A lot of guys want to give, Chris, which is good. Masculinity is protector, provider, and leader. So we like to provide. Man, Chris, let me know if you need anything. I would love to be the answer guy for Chris. I would love to bless Chris, give him counsel, give him encouragement. Boom, 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 boom. And then Chris asks JM, how can I bless you? I'm like, I'm good. I'm good. I don't need nothing ever. Like, Jamichael, you're probably you're probably ignorant to it because maybe you're not in the habit yet. But like we said recently, you don't tell everything to everybody, but you better tell everything to somebody. And it better be somebody who actually challenges you, somebody who actually you have there's a healthy and appropriate fear and reverence so they can speak into your life. Without that, man, like
Yeah.
I don't know how anybody can make it. I haven't seen anyone successfully do anything without having real solid brotherhood.
Yeah.
But I think men have been too weak in their definition of brotherhood. They're like, yeah, me and the boys, we watch the game together. Like, I'm glad you got some friends that enjoy a hobby together, man. I don't want to take that from you. But that is not what Chris is talking about when he asks about brotherhood.
Yeah.
Like, who says the real thing to you? Who calls you out? And who actually is up in your business in a healthy and awesome way? Like, that will prevent you from being a limp man.
Yeah.
That will make you stand tall and go, ooh, I need to get back in the fight.
Yeah. Okay, so you've worked with a lot of these men who have been consumers and then finally said, okay, like I'm gonna come into this thing. What would
Half
you
a
say?
thousand.
Half a thousand of them, right? Not that all of them were limp men, but we get it. So, what would you say is potentially the greatest objection to brotherhood for the limp man?
Nobody would ever make an intellectual argument against it. They just fade away and they pretend to be morally superior. Like, oh no, it's cool,
Interest.
man. No, I think what y'all doing is great. No, I
Interest.
love it. No, it's really good. It's really good.
Yeah.
I'm so busy. Like as soon as they hear about the accountability factor and they know it's real and it's not fluff and it's not pretend. And once they realize like, oh, actually, like, yeah, we want you to win, bro.
Yeah.
Like for real, not pretend. Like we actually want you to crush it and change the world, and we want you to be an unrecognizable man 5 years from now. That's what we want for you. Oh, I was just trying to like make this teeny tiny little adjustment and then I'd be happy. Like, yeah, we're probably not the right fit then, bro. We're trying to change the world for King Jesus.
Amen.
And you were trying to you're 60 pounds overweight and you wanted to lose a pound, in the next 6 months. Like, I don't think we're your guys. Like that's not the if I was a fitness coach, like that would not be my ideal client.
Like, yeah, I'm not really gonna put you on a testimonial board.
Yeah, like, oh, I did it, mission accomplished. Like, yeah. Now, of course, we work with so many guys, Chris, who, frankly, their targets are too small, and we don't tell them that day one because we know that they're going to grow one step at a time. Because honestly, most guys, if I shared with them the vision, the picture of the fruit that's possible, they would think that I'm full of it. And in their defense, I'm literally selling something. Which is why I don't share a lot of Natalie and me stuff. I'm just like, there's another level. Because if I started to tell our stories, they'd either be like, no way. First of all, just no way. It's just, he's absolutely a liar.
Right.
Which I think is probably the most likely accusation. And then the second one would just be like, well, then they had that always. Like, that's just how she always was, and that's how he always was. And it was just some sort of like perfect match kind of thing, genetic lottery with life. And so we don't tell guys always the whole future. We just, they want, like, they're level 1 and they're dreaming about level 2. And we're like, hey, bro, just so you know, you're going to get level 2. Just so you know, there's also a level 3. They're like, are you serious? We're like, yeah, dude, like, one step at a time, brother. Of course, I know good and well. I'm like, bro, we're taking this brother to level 10. Yeah. But right now he can't, like, that's crazy. So people are, it's like somebody starving for a meal, starving for any nutrition. And you're talking to them about feasting 3 times a day. Like, what? That's just unreasonable. That's opulence. It's unnecessary. People even get offended when you talk about how good the fruit can get in marriage and family culture and masculinity, sex life with your wife. They're like, oh my goodness, who would need all that? And you're like, hey, brother, let's just focus on where you're at today. And then, of course, 18 months from now, that bro is like talking about that next level fruit. And, we're showing him his original onboarding stuff, the stuff that he filled out. And he's going, oh my goodness, I don't recognize that man. His targets were so low and he has self-adjusted along the way. So it's totally normal for us to do that. I think we all grow that way. Like when we're teaching our sons how to swim, like I don't tell them, hey, just so you know, buddy, by the end of the day, you're going to be alone in the deep end because that's, we just start with, hey, good job. And next thing you know, watch this. I can jump in and swim across the deep end. It's a natural progression. That's the wiser way to coach. So it might have been really foolish for me to just tell everybody how we're doing it now.
Right.
They're like, aha! I knew you were going to help me more than I thought you were. You jerk. The Family Captain is all about helping Christian husbands to build an incredible marriage and family culture. It's self-leadership, it's family leadership, it's sex and marriage, all made practical so husbands, wives, and children can enjoy God's best and truly thrive. it's one thing to believe that Christians should have the best marriages and sex lives. It's another thing to know how to make it all happen. But inside our Family Captain Elite coaching program, that's exactly what you're going to learn. In the Family Captain Elite, men are not only equipped with the conviction to act, but also with the wisdom to navigate their exact situations. And they get a clear, practical path to get them the incredible fruit that they're after. So if you want to take your marriage and family culture from just fine to incredible, then go to thefamilycaptain.com and book a free assessment call to see if the Family Captain Elite program really is a good fit for you. That's thefamilycaptain.com. Family leadership is a high calling for your life. So what are you waiting for?
I'm curious, and you may or may not want to answer this because I know you don't like absolutes, and I'm not saying it's an absolute, but
Oh, I'm going all in now. Absolutely.
based on your experience, the Limp Man who's consuming knowledge, who reads the books, who does the podcast, who isn't applying the knowledge, is his wife more of a people pleaser, or is she more of a like, man, I wish this dude would level up, and more intense taking on the masculine roles?
Well, already, even without the context of your question, I think more wives generally tend more towards controlling their husbands than they do passively trusting their husbands.
Interesting.
So that's like by far, I don't know what those percentages are,
Mm-hmm.
but that's the temptation of her flesh anyway,
Yes.
is that she would actually, because of the curse, that she would rule over her husband. And it's her fears and anxieties that she tries to jump to the outcomes that she wants. So she's like, I'm afraid about this in life, so I'll tell Bob to do that. Bob, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this, you need it. Why? Because she's thinking 4 steps ahead because she doesn't feel covered. Or maybe he is doing a great job and she just needs to put down her flesh. So in general, that's the default setting of most women and most men and most marriages anyway.
Yeah.
Now, for the guy who's just passively consuming information, sure. I mean, it's probably the same kind of scenario going on. You know, maybe she's very, very neurotic. Maybe she's very, very logical. Maybe she's very, very concerned. Maybe she's very overwhelmed. And he's like, I'm learning. And he tries to do it. So he would argue back with the podcast and say, no, I tried to take action. But we would reply with the Yoda response, like, what? There is no try, there's only do.
Only do.
Like, you don't have to try anything. Don't try to control your wife. We're talking about you leading you. That's step one. Step one of leading your wife is lead yourself. You know, step one of leading your wife, I forget how I used to say. Step one of leading your wife is stop following your wife.
Right. Yeah, you did.
Yeah, and then step two is like lead yourself. I could probably flip those. Step one is stop following your wife. I don't know. I'm all mixed up in my words. Lead yourself, okay? That's always a good practice.
Yes.
So guys who say, I tried that, they took a tactic and they applied it one time on a Tuesday night at 7:30 because they heard an example of a role play. But in my role play, I had a certain marriage in mind. So the example they heard me give, they're like, fine, I'll try it. Like, no, brother. Remember, the Family Captain's not about trying tactics. Are there a lot of helpful tactics? There are, for the right man at the right time. But if you don't know which man you are and you don't know which wife you have and you don't know how much leadership capital you have, then you have no framework to be able to apply said tactic.
Yeah.
So in general, yeah, the passive guy, the limp man, probably has a wife who is ruling over him.
Yeah.
But that said, I've also seen guys who have come in and they're like, dude, my wife is so ready for this. Like, she is like, the moment I step up with any certainty, with any conviction, with any clarity, she's going to melt. But that's rare. I shouldn't say rare.
How does he
That's a
know
smaller
his wife is
percentage.
primed for that?
Because she said it. Like, this woman is, she's soft. She's not perfectly submissive or perfectly respectful, but she doesn't want to rule over him. Sometimes she's ruled over him for a really long time and she's given up on it and she's cooked and she realizes her failure and she's like, I'm so tired. I wish you would lead. And that can be a wake-up call for him. Other times there are wives who, thank God, maintained their softness and maintained their femininity. Not perfectly submissive or perfectly respectful women, but, bro, better than the average girl, better than the average Christian sister. And she's just like, she's just sweet. Not perfect. Yes, she can get a set on her too. But she's just so ready for him to lead, and she would melt and she would respond well. Like she's not gonna sabotage his efforts. When he's like, "Hey, beautiful, I got dinner plans Saturday night." She's not gonna go, "Well, we didn't make this plan. We got to make decisions together." Like, good grief. Like, she's not that. He's like, "Hey, beautiful, I got dinner plans Saturday night." And she's like, "What? Yay! Hooray!" And like, as soon as he starts leading, as soon as he starts saying, "Hey, kids, bedtime's in 30 minutes," she's going, "Hello. There's a new man around here, like standards, order, dignity, like all the things." And she's just going, "Yippee."
Mm,
Much smaller percentage, but not enough that the word rare would be appropriate.
yeah.
But it is a much smaller percentage than the norm of like, oh, that must. So even guys right now, there's a must be nice. I wish my wife would be the one who. Okay, bro. Good news. Good news. There's a path forward for everybody. The path forward is always just bring her good fruit, and we're not trying to control her. We're just trying to be who God has called us to be. That's our commitment.
Have you ever read Screw Tape Letters by C.S. Lewis?
Yeah.
I think the most fascinating part of that book is when it talks about the guy who is attending church but is distracted, believes in God but doesn't really obey God. Like that's the guy who's in the most danger. That's the guy who they have locked in, right? As opposed to the dude who like is not seeking Jesus at all, right? I
So
almost
screw tape
wonder.
letters, guys. It's an
Yeah,
uncle
sorry.
demon writing
Yes.
to his nephew demon,
Yes, give context.
and so he's like, all right, here's how to deal with your this human that you're supposed to torment and all this stuff. So his human ends up getting ends up getting born again, and his uncle's like, hey, it's not the end of the world. Like as long as we can just keep him docile and passive and inactive for the kingdom,
Yes.
So like, and his uncle's like writing strategically, like here's how to keep your new Christian under wraps, that kind of thing.
Yes, thank you. Sorry. I contextually just didn't even fill in the gaps there. But it's interesting because I almost feel like just like that guy's in the most dangerous spot of like just not experiencing growth, right? That the limp man is probably in the most dangerous spot in terms of the growth because he doesn't know that it exists, right? As opposed to the dude who's just like, I'm a gamer. I'm just like not paying attention at all to trying to lead my family. I'm just living for me. He knows once he sees the light, it'll be like, oh. But for this guy, he can barely see it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a dangerous place to be because it's deception. I
Right.
don't know what I don't know. So
Right.
that's why. I mean, that's part of the reason that we are putting out another podcast, and we'll put out another one next week because there are brothers who haven't seen yet, and we want to be that lighthouse. They're saying, guys, there's a much higher calling. There's another level to live at as a Christian man, not just raise kids and love your wife, kind of, and go to heaven when you die, but actually make kingdom impact. Progress. That's the thing that we've been emphasizing. That's the thing we've been talking about. Faithfulness looks like progress. It's not perfect. We talk about all the time. Imperfect action is how we win. So
Yeah.
even inside the family captain with the accountability that we have, it's not ruthless, but it is genuine. So we're not
Yeah.
saying you have to be perfect. We're saying we need to see progress. We need to see coachability.
Yeah.
All right, you're coachable. Well, I made a mistake. Yeah, okay. Well, welcome to being human, and let's get another rep in. I don't care that you struck out in the batter's box. I care that you went to the batter's box and you swung the bat and you didn't just watch 3 pitches come by. So I can work with that. I can work with a coachable man. I can work with a hungry man. I cannot work with a limp man who just won't show up. I can't work like what am I gonna? I can't. I'm not his Holy Spirit. I'm not his babysitter. I'm not his mommy. Like I can't do anything with that guy. I gotta have something. Now, if this guy keeps showing up, I'll fight all the way to the gates of hell with him.
Yeah.
I'm like, I like this guy. I'm proud of this guy. Doesn't have to be the most seasoned. Doesn't have to be the most experienced. I don't need any of that. But if I see heart, let's go, bro. The thing is, all men have heart. It just has to be awakened. So this is why we're trying to stir him up. Hey, if you're a limp man, you're not supposed to be.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be erect. What do I do? Take action. Action. Action leads to momentum.
Yes.
And now we've got some momentum. You're going, ooh, it feels good. It's feeling
Yeah.
good to feel good. And now we start stacking the W's again. Not just, I need to know, I don't know what next step to take. Stop with that. Stop with that. Do something. Do something. Kill the overthinking. Kill the overthinking and go do anything.
Yeah. it would appear it's a lack of desire, right? I mean, that's really the only way to peg it. It's just like
Yeah. He's
they
been
don't
pacified too.
know they don't know what's available.
Lack of desire
Yeah.
because he's discouraged because he doesn't think it's possible. My
There you
wife would
go.
never go for that.
Yep.
None of my friends know anything about that. My pastor certainly didn't know anything about that. He can't relate to any of it. He's been pacified by fantasy football. He's been pacified by internet lust pixels. He's been pacified just by the scroll and the dopamine hit from the billion-dollar corporations that have studied him like a lab rat to keep him addicted. And he thinks that it doesn't happen to him. He thinks it applies to some other loser that we're talking to. But he's still, even as he hears it right now, is like, yeah, like I know guys like that, but it's not me. So, like, he's got all these things working against him, which is why we're going to keep showing up for our brother. We're going to keep poking him in the chest, going, "Are you a limp man? Are you a limp man?" And we want him to be able to say, "No, no." Oh, good. What fruit can you point to then? What fruit can you point to? You ought to be able to point to a whole harvest and say, "I got evidence." Like, praise God, brother. Let's go. Or you're like, "I'm still tilling the field right now." That's action. That is action, and I love it. You've tilled the field. You've planted seed. You're watering it. That's action, brother. That should be celebrated. The Lord loves it. Well done, good and faithful servant. The rest is inevitable. The rest is history. But we got to get guys activated.
Yeah. Ooh, that's good. Asking yourself, like, where's the fruit? Like, what do you see? Because if we're all playing that comparison game of like, well, at least I'm not that guy, right? Well, what fruit do you continually see getting better, right?
And when you judge and measure the fruit, don't judge and measure your wife. Don't judge and measure your kids, especially when you're first getting started. Judge and measure things that are 1000% in your control. I was on a coaching call with a brother right before this, and I was saying, I want to hear the wins. Let's celebrate. And he was like, well, and he was starting to talk about, he's like, well, I'm going to say some wins by faith because, like things didn't go his way with his wife or things didn't go his way with his kids. And I was like, hey, brother, wins should be things that you could control. What did you do that I don't care if a nuclear bomb got dropped on your head this week, you could have still accomplished it. You wouldn't accomplish much, in all fairness,
Right. That's
if a nuclear bomb. But I think you get the point, Chris.
right.
Like, so no matter what
Try.
happens around you, like all these people are mad at me or all these people are screaming in my face. Okay. Did you maintain self-control? Were you the lighthouse? Yes, I did. That's the win.
That's a win.
Like, we can't control the whole world around us. I can't control my wife. I can't control my kids. Now, influence changes over time, depending on where a guy is.
Yeah.
But that's the thing guys have to focus on. Not, well, the fruit's still bad because I don't have every single thing I've ever imagined and dreamed of. Like, yeah, but did you take your action? That's the wins that we're judging, brother. Did you hit the snooze this week? Well, there's your win. Good job, Captain. Like, did you do the things you said you would do? Were you a man of integrity? Well, there's your win. Did you actually move the family mission forward? Did you even start to define a family mission? That's a win, brother. Did you take it to the Lord in prayer? That's a win, brother. So guys need to know how to measure wins because a lot of times they outsource their victories to go, well, my kids didn't say I was the greatest man my wife and kids have ever known. Like one of my clients today, he said his little boy looked up at him and he said, "Daddy, you're the best daddy in the world."
Let's go.
And he was just like, he's like, "This is it. This is everything." But even then, I'm like, that's beautiful. And of course, we want to celebrate that. But also, we can't control what comes out of other people's mouths. What that man could control was all the fathering he had done up until that moment.
Yes.
And that's what I often celebrated with him as well. I'm like, hey, you've been doing work that led to that little boy saying that. That's the win we can control. Some little kids are going to verbalize it and some aren't. But you've been doing the work, brother. And that's the W.
Yeah. Ooh. That's really good, man. That's really good. Just identifying the fruit, realizing that knowledge is not power, doing is power, right? Action is power. And in many cases, the limp man most likely, in many cases, finds himself in a place where he's just like, I don't know. I don't really desire the next step, right? And so hopefully the podcast, the books, all the things can be something that moves him to see where he's at and where he could go, which is, again, a lot of the episodes that we throw up here are showing the places guys can get to. You always say there's always another level, right?
Yeah.
Like,
you think it goes to 10 and the Lord shows you it goes to 100 and you start to approach 100. You're like, I'm about to peak. And the Lord says, hey, check it out. It goes to 1,000. So whatever level you're at, who cares as long as you know that you're genuinely making progress? But that goes back to the brotherhood, bro, because brotherhood will tell you whether or not you're making progress or not. Because I can lie and kid myself and not even lie to myself. I can just get blind and not realize that a year's gone by. I'm like, I am the same guy I was a year ago. Dang it. But in brotherhood, if it's a real brotherhood, not just a hobby group, but it's real brotherhood, like the standard is progress. It's like, hey, you making progress? Oh, I slacked off. Ooh, let's tighten that up. Like there's an immune system in a brotherhood that like, attacks the thing that shouldn't be there, not the
Yes.
person, but the thing that shouldn't be there, the passivity or whatever. And of course, or if you're really down and weak and you're just crushed by burdens of life or tragedy, then the brotherhood is also there to pick you up and go, hey, this is what's needed in this season. Growth in this season for you would look like rest. Growth in this season for you would look like grieving well. So it's not just be a hard charger, go getter, and go have a company that has $100 million exit. It's what does progress look like for this brother in this season? And the wise brotherhood will help you to do that.
Yeah. Well said, man. All right, man. Well, most of our episodes are like, I don't know, an hour, but we're going to end this one a little early. Tell the dudes why.
Yeah, absolutely. So they can go take action. You didn't need another podcast episode. We gave you one anyway
Let's go.
because you were expecting it. And now, what are you going to do with the next 15 minutes? Take some action, whatever it would look like to become the man who inserts himself into that situation. The thing you've been avoiding, the thing you've been hiding from, the thing you know the Lord is calling you to, the thing you know that would bring growth, breakthrough, progress, fruitfulness. Brother, it's going to be so worth it. It is going to be so beautiful as you get into the habit, as you get addicted to taking action. And we want you to win. Your wife wants you to win, and your kids desperately want you to win. So glorify God and go take action right now.
I would even take it a step further, JM. For any guy who's listening to this and they're like, yeah, I plan to listen to The Family Captain today and listen to another podcast or read a book or watch a video or something. With the time you have remaining from the end of this episode as we dock the ship here, I'd love to know, man, like if there's a thing that sparked your brain, drop it in the comments below. Let us know. We want to celebrate that with you as a form of accountability.
Absolutely. Tell us what action you're taking. Make it measurable. Make it pass, fail. Put the date and time deadline on it if you need to as well, so that we can know that a brother is being fruitful.
Awesome. Awesome, dude. All right, JM. Good stuff today, man. Until next time.
Go captain your ship. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Family Captain Podcast. Now go take some action and serve by leading well. Also subscribe, leave a review so more men can find the podcast and be helped. And if you're ready to take your growth to the next level and you'd like more support, check out thefamilycaptain.com for our resources that'll help you accelerate your journey. And until next time, go captain your ship.